Hi, everybody, and welcome to Deborah Kobylt Live. I have a terrific guest in studio with me. Thank you, Melissa Fino. Why are you laughing?
Thank you for having me.
Love your life community. I love what you do. You are a life coach for women, which is very broad, but you basically deal with people who have issues with feeling ashamed, a lack of self-worth, and you decided to focus on that in your work because you've been there.
I have been
Big
there.
time, right?
I have.
So the best way to sort of deal with it is let's start a little bit about at the beginning. What were you like as a kid? I know you dropped out of high school.
I was a high school dropout. When I was younger, in my early teens, I had a very hard time understanding the difference between my own values and my parents' values. Being that they were both immigrants from a different country, it was a little different.
Where'd they
for
come
me.
from?
Portugal. Portugal, yes. And they both came here in their early to late 20s, so they were very acclimated to a different culture.
Yeah.
So for me, I struggled with that a lot, and I had some anger issues and a lot of insecurities, and I didn't know how to understand any of my feelings. I knew I was feeling something, but I couldn't label what it was.
So what did you do?
Oh,
I know you got yourself in some big trouble.
I did. I did get myself into some trouble. Nothing that's on the books anymore.
No, but I mean, you tried to take your life.
I did. I did when I was younger, and it was something that my mother found me. I had drank some alcohol and taken some over-counter pills, and I wasn't very coherent. And she did find me, and it was a very scary situation. And I did end up in the hospital for a little bit after that, and it continued on. Not the suicidal attempts, but not understanding my own feelings.
That's a very hard place to be. You know, I have teenagers and kids in college, and sometimes people will say, oh, my son or daughter is doing this, this, and this. And then I have some friends where their kids are just so struggling to figure themselves out. There's a lot of pressure where you are supposed to know what you want to do, and so much so. And then the kid feels so less than. And I'm sure being the kid of immigrants, you didn't know where the heck you belonged, right? Like, who am I? Who's Melissa?
No, I had
That's a horrible feeling.
I had a lot of mixed emotions that I didn't understand for a long time. I think it actually kind of carried a little bit into my 20s. And it took me a long time to identify what some of those emotions for me. And my biggest catalyst for change I had spoken with you about is when I lost my father. And when I was younger, he had always put me up on a pedestal, and he thought that I was the best of everything. But after I had gone through the grieving process of losing him, I realized that I truly wasn't the best of everything. I wasn't the best at what I could
But
be.
to him you were. But still, it motivated you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It motivated me to change everything about what I was. And I was just in.
So what did you do? I know you went back to school.
I did. I actually ended up dropping out of high school when I was in my teens. I going to community college in my senior year of high school, but I dropped out of all of my classes.
Wow.
Yeah.
But you eventually got your degree, and you got a degree in social work. You went to college.
Yeah, I did my undergraduate in Connecticut, and I thought I was going to stay there, but I somehow ended up applying to the University of Southern California, and it brought me over to the West Coast.
Wow.
Yeah, which is a great thing because it's also brought me to this new experience where I was going to be in counseling and I wanted to be a licensed clinician. And then I realized that life coaching is more up my stream because you can work with a woman where she is right now and take her somewhere else.
How is that different from therapy, though?
Yes. So counseling, essentially, you work with someone where they are, but then you go back into all of their history. You spend years pulling out everything that's in the back of your memories. And it takes a while to get there. So then it takes a while to actually move forward. With life coaching, you actually work with where they are right now.
I don't sometimes see the point of going way back because you are where you are. And even if you go back for a little bit, you don't need to stay there forever. At least I think so, because that's where you end up in therapy forever and ever and ever.
It is.
I don't get the point. I guess I don't get the point. I'm not putting it down, please.
Yeah.
I'm not.
It is the truth. There's pros and cons to both sides, but
Right.
when you go into therapy, it's not something that you're going to see a positive result immediately. It's not
Right.
something like that that's going to happen. Whereas life coaching can effectively change your life within a couple of months.
So you felt a lot of shame and you felt that you were sort of nothing, right? So you studied, you pulled it together, and now how did it get to the point where you then became so strong that you can help motivate other people to do the same thing?
I think that when you don't believe in yourself for so long, and then when you get back up off the ground and you do something, you accomplish your first step, it's so much easier to go forward and accomplish the next one and then the next one. And you just believe in yourself in a way that you never had before. So life is easier. When you're down at the bottom, you're isolated and you believe that you're all alone. And the truth is you're not, but you don't see that in your head. And I think that I felt that way for so long. I felt like I was alone.
Do you think most people feel alone and they just don't show it?
Mm-hmm.
You do?
I do.
Because there's so many people, including, women, moms, whatever, they're like, oh my God, they like have it together. They, all these like pictures at parties and this and that. I'm thinking, thanks for the invite. And they just look like they've got it all going.
Yeah.
But they've got a lot of insecurities too, don't they?
Yeah, but people don't show them because they're embarrassing.
Right.
Yeah. And that unveils a layer of vulnerability that you don't want to show everyone.
Yeah. But behind closed doors, they may be struggling just like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So
there are a lot of people like that.
Yeah. I mean, so basically you help people. You've got steps too, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've got like a whole step program, right?
Yeah,
you
I
have like
created
a 15 master guide?
15-step master guide I created for your guests, and they can just go on to loveyourlifecommunity.com and then /Deborah, and they'll get there.
Oh, that's fabulous. I love that.
Yep.
But let's go through some of them, because we were talking on the phone about some of them. They're very much common sense. And I realize we live in a world where everyone claims to be, whatever, they're going to help you, life coaching, whatever. But this, you lived through it and you lived to tell, but it's also very common sense. And I feel like when you're ready to accept it, this was terrific. You want to go through a couple of them?
Yeah, of course. So not even on the master guide, when you and I had originally spoke, there's something called controlled emoting. And that's essentially where you force yourself to actually feel feelings. But the thing is that you don't know what those feelings are because they're so buried in your mind.
Yeah.
So it's good to do it if you have a whole day or if you have a couple of hours in the afternoon, and to pull out those old letters that somebody has wrote you, or those old photographs that bring back those memories. Or music, or that movie, or the picture of that moment where something specific happened that will trigger your feelings back and actually cry your eyes out. Because a lot of us don't sit with those feelings.
Right, but once you do that, then how do you get to the next point? Because some people could just stay woo down there. That's why I say you have to be a little ready.
Yeah.
You have to hit bottom like you did and just be able to say, okay, I'll take it in. Go ahead, tell me what to do. I agree with that, though. If you can just sit with the bad feelings, it'll help you.
Well, that's a good question. So a lot of people ask that. Well, what if I can't stop? Or what if it brings up something else? Or those kinds of things? And the truth is, nothing is going to be worse than not having experienced your feelings in the first place. Because if you continue to bottle them up, you're just going to add more and more on top of it. And in the long run, you're going to blow up. It's all going to come to a head.
Do you think it's tougher now? Because when you were going through a hard time when you were younger, there probably wasn't really social media. And now it's everywhere. Is it harder now or not? Where you think you could see what everybody's doing, or has it always been difficult?
I think that there's probably positives and negatives about it.
Good point.
Yeah. It's harder to constantly have the surveillance camera, but at the same point, a lot of people are going through the same things that you're going through. So maybe it's good to actually have that experience out there.
I agree. And then you could fish around and you could see, oh, well, they're doing that too. Or, oh, look, I found Melissa and look what she's doing to try and help us. So some of the ones that I actually really liked were isolation.
Yeah.
you know. Tell me about that.
Well, so when you are lonely or you're depressed or you're experiencing something that you're not quite sure what it is, we tend to isolate. And what that means is we go home, we close the door, we lock ourselves in our home, and
Eat.
we use a coping mechanism, whether it be food, wine, Facebook, it can be Netflix. A lot of us have so many different coping mechanisms.
What was yours?
I've used food before. I've used alcohol before. I've used just not wanting to communicate and blanking out on Netflix, you know?
That's at least benign, I guess. You're entertaining yourself a little bit, you know?
You're living someone else's life for a moment.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we isolate and we continue to do it for longer, we think that we are completely alone. And being alone is a lie that we tell ourselves because we're never really alone, but our thoughts lead us to believe that we are.
I think it can be a dangerous place to go. You know, I really do, because you can spiral, you know.
Yeah.
So what do you do to pick yourself up from that?
You have to do the complete opposite of what isolation is, and you actually have to pick yourself up and start telling the truth, whether the truth be what your story is, the thing that you're actually hiding inside, whether the truth be that you have to tell someone, hey, I don't like the way you're doing this today,
Or maybe you know, slice your friend list because they're not good friends.
Oh, yeah.
That's really important. Stop pleasing everybody. Just stick with the people who have your back. That's a big one.
Yeah. You immediately have to take those people out of your life.
Yeah.
Because you can't go forward with the constant reminder of someone who always reminds you of where you were or where you used to be. That's not going to be healthy for you.
Yeah. Go through a few others with me that you think would really help some people.
Yeah, so automatic negative thoughts are something that we always have.
Why is that? Why do we all have that? Even people who grew up in the most positive environment, they'll just go there. Do you know what I mean? Is that just how we're made up? It's tough. You got to reel yourself in.
It really is. It's something that's kind of buried into our subconscious.
I think so.
Yeah, well, the first time you fall down or you do this, and you do get back up, but then when it happens again, it's something that you're reminded of in your memory. And how many memories do you actually have? There's so many.
What were your parents like?
You know, my parents were not the normal marriage.
How's that?
Because they didn't have an arranged marriage, but they had some form of arranged marriage, which is a long story. My grandfather on my mother's side thought my parents had slept together and he made them get married.
God, could you imagine back in the day? I'm going to imagine that was also steeped in religion too, right?
Very much so.
Wow.
Yeah. Mom, I love you.
Is she listening or watching? It's like,
she
okay.
probably is.
Good. Hi, Mom. These are all good things.
Yes.
But also, you know, so what was it like for you growing up?
Well, so the Portuguese culture is very, very different. And this is something that I had a hard time disassociating with. Not disassociating, but understanding my own values. With Portuguese culture, they value being employed, and they value it.
It's also at that time. You came to this country, you work, you know what I mean? Which, by the way, everybody should work. I'm not saying.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah.
But my father worked for the same company for 37 years, and he may have had other opportunities to explore other avenues where he could have done a little bit more, but he wouldn't.
Probably afraid. Yeah. I've seen that because I also come from, not my parents, but relatives, everyone, you know, who came over from Italy. And I've seen that. And they stayed where they were because it felt safe. I get that. Mm-hmm. You know, it was a working class environment. So.
Yeah. But I do, for me personally, think that was a little bit for my own comfort zone. You know, when I was growing up, I had a hard time kind of moving into different jobs because my father would always be in the background saying, but Melissa, you have a job right now. It's okay.
I know that can be very daunting because I just from meeting you and talking to you, you've got a huge free spirit.
Yeah.
You know, and you just want to explore and be. And I know that must have felt very suffocating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect word.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's exactly how I felt for a while in my adolescence.
Yeah, in which case you're running around just like nuts. You know, you're leaving school, you're trying to hurt yourself, you're just looking for answers and just grabbing things off shelves, not knowing what you're doing. And then suddenly you just put the brakes on. You know what I love what you said to me and you wrote?
Yeah.
Like with negative thoughts.
Yeah.
It's just a thought and it's okay.
Yeah.
You do that with a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a thought and it's okay. right?
Yeah, whenever it's a process that I've learned, and it takes 21 days to break a habit. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight.
That is hard.
It is
Anybody who's
very,
dieted knows it's almost impossible to get to day 2 or 3. Mm-hmm. So you need to get to day 21 even with that, right?
Mm-hmm. So when I have a insecure doubt or thought in my head, maybe this person is thinking something about me, what I say to myself is, this person may not like me, but it's just a thought and it's okay. It reminds me that it's just going on in my head.
It's just a thought and it's okay.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. It's very powerful. I tried doing that after I read your materials and we talked. It's just a thought and it's okay. Because I know someone who's struggling and I actually used that on them and I told them about you. I said, it's just a thought. And they paused for a moment. Yeah. You do pause when you say that to yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're reminding yourself that you're supported. And what's going on here is not really what's going on in real life. Mm-hmm. And that's a problem with all of us in general because we are so used to thinking about what's going to happen next or what went wrong in the conversation we had yesterday that we forget about what's actually going on right now.
Yeah. Give me a few others. Or people call you or they're just, in flux. How do you just bring them down a little bit? When someone who's just all over the place, how do you get them to a place of just initial calm?
Oh, that's all about listening. That
Really?
is all about listening. And that's one of the biggest things is that a lot of people, when they don't feel their feelings, they don't know what they are and they've never talked about them before. So when they actually feel comfortable enough to talk about them, it's hard to find them. It's hard to get a word in edgewise to actually get them to stop.
Because maybe you're questioning your feelings and wondering if they're valid and even true. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you why. I was around someone recently and they were saying to a friend of mine there, about what may or may not have happened. And I thought, boy, that's not how I saw it. It didn't involve me, but I remember thinking, wow. So sometimes what if somebody's perception, what if their reality really isn't exactly how it happened? How do you know that? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then in which case it's bringing them down, but maybe it's not what happened. I mean,
well, we have expectations of ourselves and how other people should act. So we,
in other words, you could be your own worst enemy. Maybe something didn't even happen and you think it did. But is that when you then go back to it's just a thought and it's okay?
Well, I think that that's going to happen with someone who's living a lot in their head.
Yeah.
And that's kind of someone who actually needs to. Journaling is one of the best things to do by yourself to actually get forward. And it's something that a lot of women don't like to do because they say, I'm not a good writer or I don't have the time or.
That is vital. That's one of the first things that you tell people, right? Can
Yeah.
you tell us a little bit about journaling?
Yeah. A lot of people say, I don't have time or I just don't know what to write. The bottom line is that you should actually sit down at a table for 10 minutes a day. And if nothing comes out on the paper, nothing comes out on the paper.
What should you write on it? Your thoughts or your observations or just anything?
Anything that's in your head. You should free write. It doesn't have to make sense. It might not even make sense for the first week. But after a week, it'll start to make sense. And a lot of things will start to unfold and you'll look at your thoughts and you'll start to see that maybe some of them aren't valid or that they don't make any sense.
That's a great point. To my point, what I was saying before, what if you're not seeing something clearly? You're right. I think if you write it down and then you go back to read it, maybe a week later, right, you'll see how you've evolved. How do you get somebody to do that? Because you're right. People always make excuses. I don't know the time. Yes, you do.
Yes, you do. You sit down with a timer or you set a timer every single day for that time when you would go home and you'd go reach for the fridge to grab something to eat, get yourself a little snack. What you should really be doing is sitting down and writing in your journal.
What do you do if there's that little person saying, I know, but I want that in the refrigerator? That's the hardest. Okay, that's my Achilles heel.
Yeah.
I'll just still open the fridge. And I'm like, oh, you shouldn't have done it. I usually get something healthy, though.
Yeah.
But
well, I
still.
mean, just stock your fridge with the healthy items. Grab whatever it is, yogurt and carrots.
But you're right, though. If you stop and write it down, and maybe it'll just prevent you from doing something you shouldn't. Maybe you'll go back to the fridge later anyway. But
put that note on the fridge that says, I need to do this. So when you go there, you know.
Yeah. So when people come to you, are they pretty broken? You said that a lot of people feel shame. What are the tops, things that you tell people to do? Because I know you have different programs
Yes.
people can join.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes. I have a program that I've incorporated a lot more of all of my sessions in, and that's called Shamed and Hiding to Loved and Thriving. And it's a 10-week program where I go through, and the first couple of weeks, we deal with what your underlying issues are, what makes you more insecure, or prompts the self-doubt, I would say. And then we start to work through feeling your feelings and where you want to go and where you want to be, because that's the most important aspect of life coaching.
What if it's that you're living with people that you don't want to be with or don't want to be around, but you feel like you just can't get out of it? How do you then build those coping mechanisms?
Well, there's two things. You can always get out of something. We lead ourselves to believe that we can't, but we always can. And the second is we have to change what our expectations are about the situation. If we're not going to get out of it, we have to change what our expectations are about it.
And how we deal with it.
So we shift our mindset. Yeah, because there's always, people think it's a closed door, but a closed door is always an opportunity. There's always a different way to look at things. But it's hard to see that when you're going through it.
Yeah. So your program helps people to reframe, reshape that line of thinking. You say it takes 21 days to change a habit.
To change a habit, yes.
So you have the 10 course.
Yeah.
You also have others, right? You work with people on the phone. Do you do individual counseling?
Yeah. So that is a 10-week coaching program, and I do individual coaching as well. Not individual sessions because
you don't think it's helpful.
It's not helpful. You just get to barely know someone, and you can't offer them the tools that they need without understanding what some of their underlying problems are.
So somebody is struggling, and let's say they can't afford to even have sessions with anyone. How can they get your help? Where can they find it?
You can find me online. A lot of people find me through social media. I do talk with a lot of women through my DMs in my social media box. I do have a lot of relationships with a lot of women.
But I mean, do you have little quotes? I find little quotes are helpful. It's like ridiculous. Those little tiny quotes that you see, on your Instagram feed. I think they're great. So maybe like Melissa's message of the day or something.
Yeah. Well, I do have a weekly newsletter that I send out, and it used to be Thursday's Thoughts, but yeah. I love
because
my newsletter.
you love what?
I love my newsletter. It's so much fun.
Yeah, so people can find that how?
On my website, you can sign up for it. Yep.
And that is
Love Your Life Community.
loveyourlifecommunity.com. Yeah, I mean, I want to just go through a couple more from the master guide.
Yeah.
Honest with yourself. Easy to say, but hard to do. That to me is a hard one because I don't know. What if you don't want to be honest? What if you don't know? How do you dig deep enough to do that? That's the thing. Some people just get to here and they need to go to there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's why the controlled emoting is, because you're blocking all of those feelings that you can't identify are blocked inside of your body. Your mind is wired to not remember them because you've blocked them out. So you have to get them out if you actually want to understand what the feelings are.
And by doing that, you just release. I only say that because I'm one of those people, everyone will call me and say, what do you think of?
Yeah.
And I never know what to say to people because I agree. You just have to. I believe in journaling. I also believe in walking, hiking, exercises, everything.
Yeah.
Because I think it loosens stuff up in your head. But I'm saying for those people that are locked.
Yeah.
You were locked. I mean, I guess it took your dad to unlock you, the death of your father,
Yeah, and there's also something that sometimes when people are saying something to you, we don't necessarily need to respond with something else. We just need to say, I'm here to support you and listen to you. And sometimes when people start to talk about those things, they understand more of what's going on because you've allowed them to talk through their thoughts.
That's a good one. Sometimes I just want to offer help and jump in, and maybe they don't want your help. I love this too. Shame versus guilt. What's the difference?
Shame is I am wrong, and guilt is I did something wrong.
Oh.
Yeah. They're very different, and a lot of people think that they're the same. Shame is I am wrong for being me, and guilt is I am bad because I did this.
And this is more something I'm pretty sure women do way more than men. I don't know a lot of men who are thinking about this stuff. They just are. Do you know what I mean? And it's women who are all consumed in their shame and their guilt and
Yeah.
yeah. Wow. So what's up next for you? You are teaching, you are speaking, and I'm just going to say the mantra of it's just a thought, it's okay.
Yes.
Is how I would like to end that. Like, it's just a thought, it's okay. If it's ruminating, it's just a thought, it's okay. You know, and just be. If you get anything out of that, I think. And then what else would you like to say to people who might be really struggling?
Oh, yeah. Like we said, you can find me over at my website. I would love to talk with you. As for me right now, personally, the world is my oyster, but it's not all about me personally. It's all about the women who we help on the way. And that's the most beautiful thing. And that's my passion. And that's why I actually started Love Your Life Community. So
For other women in your life, right? Because you were saying to me, it's the women that you're surrounding yourself with who have your back, you have their back. That is a very rich community. I'm sort of in the same place where I want women around me who have me, who
have
me.
your back. Yeah. We were talking about this a little bit. I no longer want to be around women who find the need to talk about other women and that's their going out is doing this. I want to be around strong women who want to watch each other grow and be empowered and do follow their dreams. That's all life is about. So
We're fortunate. I always say we're lucky enough to live here where we can do that, because so many women around the entire country, not country, the world, they don't get that opportunity. They don't wake up and go, I'm going to follow my dream. It's like, you got to find food. You've got to, figure out a way to make money or somehow you got to live, not be abused. We're very fortunate we can do that. We're in a whole different place than the rest of the world.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I do agree on that.
And I believe if we can get ourselves together, we can help other women out there everywhere else to do that too.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being here. Any shout outs that you want to give? I'm just looking through your whole little list here. Everything from affirmations, that's a big one. I did, I am, I have. I like that too. I did, I am, I have. And it's okay to be like, I am. You know what I mean? We are not doing that enough.
Rather
like,
than I am not, which is
Yeah.
what most women think.
Oh, here's the big one. Sorry. It's like, sorry for what? You know what I mean? Like, did you hurt someone? Beat them up? I mean, sorry. It's like,
We apologize for a lot of things that we should not be apologizing for.
No, I just think it's really, really good. Recognizing your triggers, the isolation we talked about, the exercise we talked about, being honest, which I think is very hard, because you might even think you're being honest and you're not honest. That would be me going to the refrigerator. I'm serious too. I really mean it. So
we do share the marathon running. I've run a marathon before as well.
Really? Where'd you run yours?
San Diego Rock and Roll.
Oh, that's really cool. I ran too many in a row, and I am struggling deeply with my knees right now. And it just happened. Just everything just went pop, and I'm thinking, whoa, whoa, whoa. Because I've been super active my whole life. So watch it. You know what I mean? People used to say that to me, Deborah, you do too many. And I'm thinking, I'll be fine. And yeah, so walk them.
I think I did the one and done, and now I'll stick with the halves.
It's cool, though. Don't you feel like a bit of a badass? Because, okay, true story, and then I got to let you go. When we had the fires up here, we had to, it wasn't mandatory evacuating. They recommended it. So we had all our stuff at the front door. And I made sure to bring all of my medals. A couple of pictures of the family, but my medals, I'm really proud of them.
I am as well. And,
Aren't
for me,
you? You should have worn it today.
Well, I was a 2-pack-a-day smoker when I was younger.
I smoked as a really young kid, but I gave it up. Yeah.
So knowing that I turned it around and picked up the running was like a big thing for me to be able to run a marathon.
I just think it's a hard thing to do. It's, when you're at mile 2, I remember going over the Verrazano Bridge like a year and a half ago and, in New York thinking, oh my God, I'm at mile 2. And, and then you keep going and going. And then it's 16. And then it's like, I think I can keep going. And then, you just go a mile. At least for me, I had to go a mile at a time.
Yeah.
You too? Or you just were all in?
I was all in until about mile 22, and then it was a little downhill.
It's hard. I'm not really sure why we do it. Back in the day in the marathon, the guy, when he delivered the piece of paper, he dropped dead. So I'm thinking, why are we doing this? Oh my God. Are we trying to get through it and not drop dead? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that. It's a big feat.
You. Yeah, but it's a story of life, essentially. It's such a great, running a marathon reminds you of everything that you've ever done, and it's such a great accomplishment.
Well, I did it because of grief also. So I just poured my grief into doing that. So it was helpful, but now my knees are paying for it. So, oh well. Anyway, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Love your life community. I found you on Instagram. And I find your advice terrific because it's smart. Your little Instagram stories are adorable. I still need to know how you do them, but they're great. I like little tips and vignettes because I'm like, oh, that's what I was thinking today. So also, if you follow Melissa, go to her Instagram stories because you got a bunch of them.
I'm always on there live, and it's no makeup, and it's just honest and real.
Yeah, but that's what I like. It's honest, it's real, it's what you're feeling or that a friend is feeling, and you're like, hey. So that was almost my favorite part too. So
thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. And thanks for being here on Deborah Kobylt Live. Remember, you could find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and honestly, just about anywhere else that you get your podcasts. We're kind of everywhere. So thank you for being here. And please look up Love Your Life Community, Melissa Fino. And I appreciate it. And we'll see you next time. Bye.